I am Bemileke Oscar Oinson, and thank you very much for making it today. I'm sure we could all be in several places where there's free food, goat meat, chicken, rice. I heard rice is very scarce now. But we're here, and more importantly, we're alive. I'd like to welcome you to the Why I Am Alive campaign, and the whole essence of this gathering is to basically ask a very simple but pertinent question as to the reason for your existence. Why really are you alive? What are you here to achieve? Why have you been placed on this earth? You'll get the opportunity to hear from very knowledgeable Nigerians, people who have been able to, will I call it, beat the odds. And they have a very powerful story to share with each and every one of us. Now, this particular edition is the Nigerian story. And you'll get to find out why this particular edition is so important to the Why I'm Alive campaign. You'll hear from the convener. You'll hear from an elder statesman. You'll hear from the only heart and kidney surgeon in the world. And I think the organizers deserve a round of applause in ensuring that all these people are here right now. So please, a round of applause, not just for the organizers, but also to ourselves. Time is fast spent, so I'll quickly move on to the next item on the agenda, as this is, of course, a patriotic event in terms of how and where we're going to chart the course for 2020. I would like us to all please rise as we have the national anthem. You have the option of hearing me sing the national anthem. I must warn you, my voice is terrible. Or option 2 is we just listen to the music, and then in your head and with your lips you can sing the national anthem. Which option do you prefer? Option 2? A very wise decision. Please, the national anthem. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Please do take your seats. Would like to recognize the presence of some of our distinguished guests. And of course, your eyes do not deceive you if you can see what I see. I think this is the first time personally I'm getting to have the honor and privilege to be in the same room as a two-time head of state. Ladies and gentlemen, our elder statesman, a father to many. Round of applause as we welcome Chief Olusegun Matthew Okikiola Aremu Obasanjo, GCFR. our keynote speaker for today. Daddy, thank you very much for taking the time to be here. Eshe Gonsa, Ekpe Funwa. Would also like to recognize the presence of the Chairman Advisory Board of Why I'm Alive campaign in the person of Pastor Ituan Igodalo. Thank you very much for being here as well. Well, actually, you have no other choice than to be here. You're part of the advisory board. Thank you very much for that. We have one of our guest speakers also here, who I mentioned earlier on is the world's only heart and kidney surgeon. You'll get to hear so much from him, especially with the perception of Nigerians in the diaspora, Dr. Olu Rotimi Badero. Thank you very much for being here as well. I will get to recognize during the course of this event other dignitaries as they arrive, but on that note, I would like to welcome each and every one of you as distinguished guests for the fact that you're here and you took the time to be here. Thank you also for being here. A round of applause to yourselves as well. Members of the press, we've given you cocktail now. You have to clap this clap, please. Forget my English. Let's clap this clap. Just come and drink our cocktail and not clap. So very quickly, I want to move on to the next item, which is basically dedicating this event to God Almighty with an opening prayer. And at this point, I would like to call on Pastor Joseph Ade Yokumu from RCCG to give the opening prayer. A round of applause to him, please. Please, can we all rise for the opening prayer?
Praise the Lord. Shall we pray? Heavenly Father, King of glory, we want to thank you. We thank you for the gift of life. We are all here today because you have given us life. Be thou glorified, be thou exalted. We also thank you for our nation, Nigeria. We are gathered today to talk about Nigeria because we still have a nation called Nigeria. Thank you, Father. Almighty God, we commit this event unto your hands. We pray you will take charge from the very beginning even to the end. We ask, O Lord, that we guide all activities, all utterances in the name of Jesus. We ask, Almighty God, that you make this event to mark a new beginning for the great turnaround of the Nigerian story, positively, O Lord. Thank you, Father. We pray, O Lord, at the end of this program, all participants will get back to their destination safely, and your name alone will be glorified. Thank you, Heavenly Father. Blessed be your name, for we have prayed in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
Amen. Do I hear an amen? Thank you very much, sir. I want to also take the time to recognize with us here today, Otumba Oyewole Fashawe. Thank you very much also for being here, sir. And Chief Abraham Idowu Akonle, thank you very much as well, sir. Please do stand up for recognition so that we know where to come and collect our Christmas hampers. Thank you very much, sir. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, as you rightly know, we're turning 60 years since independence, and Nigerian story is one that we've heard different versions of the Nigerian story, the narrative. We've heard from the Western world, we've heard from us here, from the diaspora. But what is the true Nigerian story? How do we learn from the past and chart a better way for the future? The whole essence of the Why I'm Alive campaign, this particular edition, which is tagged the Nigerian story, is to tap into the wisdom of those who were there before us and also plant a seed in the minds of those who will take the helms of responsibility in the very near future. This is an interactive forum, so please feel free to feel free. There will be a lot of questions asked and a lot of answers given. Please take note, we can't answer all the questions that have to do with Nigeria in one sitting. But the idea is to have a good sense of direction and also go into the new year with more information and with a will and a drive that is unique to Nigerians. Also want to take this time to congratulate the convener of the Why I Am Alive campaign. She's a woman who has, against all odds, been able to put this together. I've been privileged to share some of her stories in terms of challenges, but if you know the convener very well, you know that no is never an answer. And she's been able to pull together the team and resources to put this together because of what she believes in. And I'm sure we all believe as well. So well done to the CEO and the convener, Eureka Productions, and the convener of Why I'm Alive initiative and campaign. Please, a round of applause to Carolyn Moore. Where is Carolyn? Okay, she's probably busy somewhere as well. You'll get to hear from her in a couple of minutes. On that note, I would like to introduce to you, and well, he needs no introduction. He's an accountant, a thinker, a social reformer, a writer. He's the pastor in charge, Trinity House, and the chairman advisory board, Why I'm Alive campaign. Ladies and gentlemen, a warm round of applause to the one and only Pastor Itoa Igodalo, as he makes his way to give the opening address. I'm sure we can do much better than that, ladies and gentlemen.
Amen. Praise the name of the Lord. I think you should give the Lord another round of applause. And the more you clap, the better you'll see in the new year. And the more miracles you'll receive. Amen. First of all, I want to thank His Excellency, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, for taking time out of no time to be here. It's taken a lot of energy and effort for him, denied himself time even with his family, and he has agreed to come here to tell the Nigerian story. I think you need to give him a standing ovation before we do anything else today. We really, really appreciate you, sir. Thank you very, very much for being here even at this time of the year. Thank you very much, sir. Please, you may be seated. It's taken a lot of effort, I know, for him to squeeze this time. Also, I want to appreciate somebody I just met recently, the first ever heart and kidney specialist in the world. The first ever heart and kidney specialist. If you don't understand what I'm saying, it is one thing to be a kidney specialist. It is another to be a heart specialist. When you combine both, and you are the first ever in the world, and is a Nigerian, born in Nigeria, schooled in Lagos, went to University of Ife, and is now living in Mississippi. And if you clap very well, he'll be the next president of the United States of America. Please welcome with me Dr. Olurotimi Badero, a Nigerian. Thank you very much for flying the Nigerian flag. But the person that looked after my wife was a young doctor called Onye Melukwe, a Nigerian who had 4 practices on Harley Street. The same thing happened when a friend's wife had cancer, had tumor in the brain, and he went to Atlanta only to see a Dr. Oyeshiku, who happened to be a schoolmate of my brother in the University of Ibadan. So Nigeria is indeed a great country with very, very capable and intelligent people. And therefore, when Caroline, one of my mentees, came to see me, and I've been working with her on many, many different kinds of projects, helping with her communications, helping with the various kinds of ideas that she had. And she said, Pastor, we need to do a project called The Nigerian Story. The Nigerian Story that tells the story of Nigeria, first of all, from the perspective of somebody who has seen a lot of Nigeria, pre-independence, independence, Nigeria pre-military, through military and post-military, and also maybe 1 or 2 people who have seen a different kind of Nigeria. And we need to put people together to begin to discuss the Nigerian question as a precursor to why they are still, or why they really are alive. As a pastor, I know that God does not make a mistake, and everybody and everything that He has created for a special and particular reason. there's a purpose for everything and a time for every season. And the reason why people never really have success, or they never feel good, or they never feel a sense of achievement in life is simply because they never discover purpose. They never discover purpose. They're never satisfied, or they are unable to get that thing that will give them purpose in life. So our story is twofold, that everyone here should discover why they are alive, the reason for their existence, and the purpose for which the Almighty created them in this world. And then to tell a story of Nigeria, of people of purpose who strive to fulfill their purpose and ensure that in fulfilling their purpose, God's purpose for Nigeria is also fulfilled and delivered to all of us. That is the Why I'm Alive campaign, telling the Nigerian story. I am determined that by God's grace, Nigeria will truly be outstanding. I am determined that by God's grace, God will help us, and we will also help ourselves to look for the right kinds of leaders, the right kinds of people that can bring out a great Nigeria and take Nigeria to where it should be. That is our campaign, that is our dream, that is our desire, and that is what we think God will help us to achieve. But a lot of people now have turned to the church or turned to the mosque praying to God for a miracle. God does miracles, but He first wants you to roll away the stone. So we all need to put into this Nigerian story or this Nigerian project everything that we can do to make sure that Nigeria succeeds. Okay? In church, I preach to my people that every time you are talking about leadership, this, that, blaming everybody for everything, but there's something that you can do within your remit and within your ambit to make Nigeria a better place. If you cannot run government, you can run your company. If you cannot run your company, you can run your home. If you cannot have good roads, at least you can clean your streets. If you do not have light, at least you can do something within your own ambit to make sure that Nigeria is truly what it should be. And it is a people that produce their leaders. And we're determined that through instruction, through education, through information, through knowledge, Nigeria will truly produce very, very distinguished and wonderful leaders, because we have the potential to do that. So we've asked Chief Obasanjo to come here today to tell us largely his own story, his own history, and his own inputs into the Nigerian story. And then he also wants to speak about some very, very relevant and topical things happening in Nigeria today. I know that Chief Obasanjo has a lot of passion for Nigeria. I know that amongst Nigerians, he's one of those who truly has laid down his life, laid down his blood for the putting together of this nation, and is so anxious that Nigeria really should be a great and outstanding country. So I'm sure that you're going to have a lot of fun and enjoyment with Baba, because he's such a great speaker and he has this way of holding the audience and is ready to take on any question whatsoever that you have. And we're going to get a fresh perspective from Dr. Badero, who left this country about 21 years ago, almost as a refugee, hung out in the United States, filled his way through, went through a lot of challenges, and then emerged to be the first person in the world to be both a heart and a kidney specialist. This is the story of triumph. This is the Nigerian dream. This is the Nigerian story, where you can start from zero and become, by God's grace, a hero. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to relax. I want you to be attentive. I want you to note your questions. I want you to have an no-holds-barred discussion, and let us see if by God's grace, God will give us the ability to fix Nigeria and turn Nigeria into a great place. So I'm going to be asking Dr. Badero to come up very quickly to share his experience and to encourage a lot of us that where you are is not where you are going to end up, and with a bit of grit, a bit of courage, a bit of focus, a bit of determination, you can truly become who God made you to be. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together right now as I ask Dr. Olurotimi Badero to come up while we read his citation. Dr. Badero, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Dr. Olu Rotimi John Badero was born in Lagos, Nigeria, to Chief Olufemi and Stella Badero. He attended St. Mary's Private Primary School, Lagos, where he skipped 4th and 6th grades due to his academic performance. He attended FGC Odogolu for his secondary education, where in his 5th year, he won the best overall student in Nigeria in a national science quiz competition, graduating with 8 distinctions in his secondary school certificate examination. He studied medicine at Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, and relocated to the US for postgraduate medical training after completion of his NYSC. He passed all 3 parts of the United States medical licensing exam for foreign-trained doctors at the first attempt. He completed 3 years of internal medicine training at State University of New York in Brooklyn. He then completed a 2-year fellowship in nephrology and hypertension at the renowned Emory University School of Medicine in Atlanta, Georgia, followed by a 3-year cardiology fellowship at Sunny Medical Center in New York. After a distinguished cardiology fellowship, Dr. Badero was accepted at the prestigious Yale University School of Medicine, where he completed 2 fellowship training in invasive and interventional cardiology as well as peripheral vascular intervention. He completed these fellowships with a distinction and was awarded a certificate for outstanding performance. Dr. Badero later returned to Sunny Medical Center for yet another year of fellowship training in the interventional nephrology and dialysis access intervention. Having completed an unprecedented 10 years of continuous postgraduate medical training, specializing in 7 different areas of medicine, Dr. Badero currently holds 6 specialty board certifications in the field of medicine. He is a consultant in internal medicine, nephrology and hypertension, interventional nephrology, cardiovascular medicine, nuclear cardiology, invasive and interventional cardiology, peripheral vascular interventions. Dr. Badero is currently the only fully trained board-certified cardio-nephrologist, combined as heart and kidney specialist in the world today, and is the recipient of several awards in Africa, Europe, and America for his achievement. His notable awards include, but not limited to, the United States Congressional Honor for Outstanding Medical Career and Service to Humanity, Association of Black Cardiologists Scholarship for the Best Cardiology Fellow in the United States in 2008, 2014 Mississippi State Healthcare Hero Award, Hall of Fame Distinguished Alumni and Global Award for Excellence in Medicine from OAU Ile-Ife, Global Pacesetter in Medicine Award from the UK as the first and only fully trained board-certified nephrologist in the world. Dr. Badero performed the first radial cardiac coronary angioplasty stemming in the history of Central Mississippi Medical Center.
You know, it's so complicated they can't pronounce it.
Please
so imagine the person who did the operation.
Yeah, so Google is your friend. But he's also been inducted into the fellowship of several national scientific and academic societies. He is the Fellow of the American College of Physicians, Fellow of the American Society of Nephrology, Fellow of the American Society of Diagnostic and Interventional Nephrology, Fellow of the National Kidney Foundation, Fellow of the American Society of Nuclear Cardiology, Fellow of the American College of Cardiology, Fellow of the Society for Cardiac Angiography and Interventions. Dr. Badero is also the Executive Director of the Cardiac, Renal and Vascular Association and is on the Global Advisory Panel of the Therapeutic Experts on Thrombosis and Atherosclerosis in the world. Dr. Badero has authored many articles and sits on the editorial board of several international scientific journals. And outside of medicine, he is an assistant pastor at the RCCG Vine Chapel in Mississippi. And he is also just recently a fellow of the Why I Am Alive campaign, the Nigerian story. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause as we welcome Dr. Olurotimi J. Badero, 100% fully made in Nigeria for Nigerians in the diaspora.
In short, he's a jolly good fellow.
A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency Chief Obasanjo, all the wonderful people that have come here to grace this occasion. It is my honor to be here. It is my honor to be a Nigerian. I'm proud to be a Nigerian amongst everybody here. And I want to thank you for your time. When you travel the same road day after day, it is difficult not to think of the road not taken. I've been blessed. I picked a good road, and I don't think of that road that has not been taken. You know, when I grew up in an era where I was very conscious of the very ambiguity of the concept of exceptionalism and a global mandate for a country where you see was embattled faces and fallen eyebrows. And due to our shared views, our collective goals, our institutional respect for each other, what we hold true as Nigerians, we've left behind a dystopian society where all you see is where poverty is a constant companion and luxury is like a strange thing. So I'm thankful for the leadership. Chief Obasanjo is here. He's done very well. He set the pace. And we're thankful for his leadership and what things that he has done. It's given some of us the platform to be able to do the things that we did. For me, living in Nigeria and going to the United States, I always say, for you to complete the circle of knowledge, you have to come back to the source. For me, it all started from Nigeria, and that's why I'm back. Because you cannot complete a circle without coming back from where you started from. So, thank you. I was raised by very great parents. My dad was an erudite figure. He was very big on education. He taught me a couple of things. He taught me, first of all, the only place success comes before work is in the dictionary. He told me to set my own standards. When I was in high school, when I was in primary school, I used to come first a lot of times, and I was scored maybe 98%. But he never bought me a present. And one time I asked him, I said, why are you not buying me a present? Are you not satisfied with what I'm doing? I'm the best in my class. He said, well, you never scored 100%. Based on the standard of your school, 97% is good, but 97% is not good enough. I want you to set your own standard and not go by the standards of other people. So I learned that at a very early age. And I also learned that intention without attention will put you in detention. I learned that you have to respect information. If you don't respect information, you suffer deformation. One thing I've learned in Nigeria is greatness has an intimate relationship with inevitability. Nigeria is a great country. We have great people. We have the brains. We have the minds. We just have to collect the dots. So for me, I started from here. I went to med school. I wasn't very interested. I didn't want to be a doctor, really. My dad wanted me to be a doctor. I refused, and one day he called me to his room and he told me, if you study medicine, you're going to do something nobody has ever done before. So it's always good to listen to your parents because they're very wise. So I listened to him. I went to med school. When I finished, I realized that one day I was in school and the only neurosurgeon we had a heart attack while he was doing surgery, and then he died. And there was nothing we could do about it. There was no defibrillator. There was no way to raise him back. So I realized that there was some things that were lacking. Even though we had the knowledge, we didn't have the infrastructure, we didn't have the some of the technology. So we have to get that and to bring it back here to make a difference. So that was one of the reasons why I left. Now, getting to America, I was faced with a lot of adversities. Because a lot of things, you're coming from Africa, they look at you, they don't think you can do a lot of things. I always tell people the most dangerous place to live in the world is not in Africa. It is in another man's imagination. Because they expect you to be a certain way, they limit you because of what their perception should be. And you shouldn't limit yourself when God has not limited you. So I wanted to be a heart specialist, but I had so many adversities. People stood in my way. They said I couldn't do it. So eventually I got into nephrology. I wanted to be the best. I've always tried to be the best. You know, I don't compare myself to people because comparison is the thief of joy. I always try to be the best in myself. I don't focus on the first, the only, those kinds of things. I don't focus on that. I only focus on being the best. Be the best version of yourself. So then eventually the opportunity came for me to be a cardiologist. I became a nephrologist, and I did all the other things that I did. And I'm thankful to God that God gave me the grace to do those things. And, you know, I wouldn't have done those things if I had not been a Nigerian. Because with Nigeria teaches you to be very strong. It teaches you to be very resilient. Anywhere in the world that you go, you see Nigerians doing great. I know that there are also some Nigerians doing fraudulent things. But the narrative here, which we're trying to raise, is that Nigerians can do, there are Nigerians all over the world that are doing great things, and that's what we should focus on. We don't have to do fraud in anywhere we go. We have what it takes to do great things, to give Nigeria a good name, and bring that back to this country. So, when I was there, a lot of things that I learned, but all the, expertise and all the technicalities and things like that, we have to bring it back, and that's why I'm here, to bring it back, knowledge transfer, train the people, because it's not just enough for you to stay in the diaspora and be helping the people and not in helping your own people. Because if I didn't have a medical education here in Nigeria, I would not have gone abroad to do the things that I did. So again, like I said, the tone was set here, the foundation was set here, and I'm thankful for that. So I don't know if you have any questions or anything you want me to talk about.
Let's give Dr. Badero a very quick round of applause. The Nigeria laid a foundation for his existence. And of course, the very first question is from His Excellency himself, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo. So, do you need a piece of paper?
Olurotimi.
Sir.
Anybody who is not proud of you, we must ask why he's not proud of you. I am particularly proud of you. And listening to you, I'm confirmed in my own optimism about this country, that the redemption of this country lies in the hands of the youth. You are not too young, but you are not too old either. So I want to hear from you 3 things that you will say to the youth who are feeling frustrated, feeling desperate, feeling discouraged about the situation in this country, so that we can say to them, yes, we are not there yet, but we can get there and we will get there. Just look at Olurotimi Badero. He is a Nigerian and he's made here, and he has shown that he can be one of the best in the world. What are the 3 things that you will say to the young men and young women in Nigeria? That, and don't let us deceive ourselves, the situation is bleak at the moment. But what can we do to give them encouragement and optimism?
Okay, over to you.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for the wonderful question. I would say to the youth today that, one of the things that I've learned, I call them the A to Z, things that have helped me. But for the question that was asked, I'm going to just go from A to G. One thing I've learned is a lot of times as youths, when you're in a country, like I said before, where you see things are bleak and everybody is trying to leave and we are worried about the situation, people are fearful. We have fear. And I always tell people sometimes it's not where you come from, it's what you're made of. It is not what you see, but how you see what you see. Fear can mean forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. So you have to look at the perspective. You can make something from the situation. So you can't be fearful. Fear is only a drizzle. We are a storm. Because if you want to run fast, you run alone. If you want to run far, you run together. We as a people, together, we can make a difference. Because what is in us is greater than what's outside. And as Nigerians, like I said before, the collective goals and the shared ideas that bring us together. In the United States, they have different types of people, immigrants from different countries. In Nigeria, we have different tribes. That is the strength of the United States. That is the strength of Nigeria. The fact that we have diverse cultures and diverse beliefs, everybody has a different strength. And we need to harness those strengths. So the other thing is adversity. Nobody likes adversity. For me, adversity was what pushed me to the places that I went to, because I was always looking for innovation. Adversity pushes you and makes you react to something. It's the way you now react that makes a difference. Belief, that's the B. You have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in the system. Courage, consistency. You have to be courageous. You have to be consistent in everything that you do. You have to have dedication. You have to have effort. You have to believe in God and believe that God can give. You have to have faith in yourself. You have to ask God for grace. You know, a day of grace is better than a lifetime of labor. And then you need to fail. People are scared of failure. I tell people the definition of failure is the first attempt in learning. It is okay to fail. It's part of getting to where you want to get to. It's part of success. So don't be scared. You have to have an insight. You have to know who you are. I always tell people the history is not written by victims, but it's written by victors. You have to be the author of your own story. You have to make sure that you have a passion. Find something that you're passionate about. There are a lot of things that can be discovered in this country. There are a lot of things that can be done. Find something you're passionate about, and do what you like, do what you feel, and feel what you do. Make sure that you don't look at what other people are telling you. Those that mind don't matter, and those that matter don't mind. A lot of times, the things that count cannot be counted. And it's not everything that can be counted that counts. It's the little intangible things that you do. So, you know, the youths have things to do in this country. I think the country actually, you know, a lot of things, belongs to the youth. We can change a lot of things in this country. You know, the leaders have done the things that they can do. It is now over to us to try to take Nigeria to another level. We have the strength of numbers. The reason why China is very strong today is because of numbers. And Nigeria has the numbers. And when you have the numbers, we have the brain power. Most of the most intelligent people I've ever met in this world are always Nigerians. And think about it. We don't have we don't have a lot of resources at our disposal, but why do we go abroad and we always excel? It is because of that Nigerian factor, that Nigerian gene, the genetics that we have. We are so resilient, we believe in a lot in ourselves, and so we can bring that back and make a difference. We don't have to always depend on the government and look at the government for answers. We can come up with answers ourselves. You know, somebody said, I think it was in America, they said, don't think of what the country can do for you, but what you can do for the country. I think that's basically what you should be thinking about. So basically, believe in yourself, be courageous, be determined, work hard. You have to work hard. There's no shortcut. The only time success comes before work is in the dictionary. There's no other way. You have to put in the effort. There were times that I had to beg in the subway. I had to sleep in the train station. I had to work all types of jobs. And people tell me you can never do it. Every time they tell me you can't do it, that's when I want to do it. Because again, look at yourself in your mirror. The only person you're competing against is yourself. Do not compare yourself, prepare yourself. Comparison is a thief of joy. We don't have to compare ourselves to other countries. We are unique as Nigerians, and the solution is right here. We don't have to go anywhere else. So I hope I've answered the question.
Okay, thank you very much for that. We want to take one or two questions as we do not have that much time. So please just indicate with your hand. Let me know your name and your question. Just one question per person, please. Let me just go to you can stand up.
I think we'll take all the questions,
Okay,
after
sir.
the other, and then get Dr. Badero to answer them in one fell swoop. And then I'll take the last question.
Okay, sir. Your name and what you do and your question.
All right. My name is Toluwanimi Adekombi, and I am a media personality. Your story is truly inspirational, but personally, I believe that you leaving the country was what greatly influenced your success story. So my question to you is, do you think if you stayed in Nigeria, if you continued practicing medicine in Nigeria, do you think you would have achieved the things that you have achieved today?
Okay, that's a question from Nimi. Even though somehow I know the answer. But I'll leave that to the doctor. Question number 2.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Adiagbo Paul. I am a student and writer. Now, my question to you is that as intellectuals, we understand the power of stories. The reason I'm more fascinated about this program is it's talking about the Nigerian story. And you, sir, you're an icon. Your story is drawing us to understand something about Nigerians. So now my question to you, sir, is what are you, just as former President Chief Olusegun asked you this question, I'm asking you more appropriately to suit my situation. Now, I love to read books. Growing up, I love reading biographies. Until date, I still do. Autobiographies, biographies written by somebody else, I don't mind. Your story is seriously fascinating for me. Can we find your story written in a book? And I don't mind doing the hard work for you if you don't mind. We need to drain the intellectual experiences and education you have found here in Nigeria and outside the nation to help the younger generation find their foot and trying to overcome the frustration we seem to have in the nation right now. Thank you, sir.
Fantastic. Do you have a Nigerian passport?
Yes, I do, sir.
Do you have a US visa? You can follow Doc on his way today. We'll take one more question.
One more question.
And then we'll move on.
And then we'll get him to answer those questions.
So that was by Ade, who basically wants to write your autobiography. Okay.
Good afternoon, and thank you once again. My name is John Oam, and I just want to say I was truly inspired by your story. One of the things I've learned over the course of my own life is that mentorship and direct teaching of more experienced people to the younger ones is very powerful. And just like he said, I'd like to say that your story is not one that should be kicked to the curbs. Is there a way we can work on, having you directly influence some of the younger people? I mean, in so few minutes, you gave us so many. I couldn't write enough. I feel like there's so much, inside of you that we want to be able to not just preserve, but to pass on to those coming on. Our former president said, it's a really tough country, and people are going through a lot. But sometimes those words give hope. They inspire hope in young people, and I think that you have a lot of that we should be able to distill and pass to the upcoming generation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. So do we have room for, or we take those 3?
Yeah, I can
Let's take those 3 and let him respond to those.
So perception without substance will lead to confusion. Perception without substance leads to confusion. You have to be, the young man that asked, what would I have done, if I had stayed in Nigeria, I believe in God. I'm a Christian. I believe that everything that I've done is to the glory of God. There's nothing that we do by ourselves, and you have to understand that it doesn't matter where you are. God can use anybody at any place to do anything that he needs you to do. So basically, you can be anywhere. You don't have to go to the diaspora. I think if I was here, I would still have made a difference. So, and I don't know what my trajectory will have been like, but I don't dwell on hypotheticals. I know that in me, I had what it takes. I always aim for the best. Everywhere that I went to, I always ask myself the question, what else can I do? They always say, if you want to be remembered long after you've gone, it's either you write something worth reading or you do something worth writing. So whatever you are, you can always channel your own story. The comfort, the things that we need to do is just to focus on whatever it is that you have. Everybody, like I said, greatness has an intimate relationship with inevitability. Everybody in this room has a greatness. God has put it in you, and it is inevitable. You just have to connect the dots. And the journey is one of the things that you have to embrace. Sometimes the journey is even more rewarding than the end itself. So to answer your question, if I had stayed here, I don't know, who knows what I would have done. Maybe I would have discovered something that has helped Nigeria. Maybe I would have discovered a way to have power in Nigeria that is 24/7. And we don't have to worry about generators anymore. Who knows? And that would have been something great. It's not necessarily what you do, it's how you do what you do. So in my situation, I did hard on cardio-nephrology, but if I had stayed back in Nigeria, I could have done something else that also would have made a difference. It's about making a collective difference. When God gives you a gift, the gift is not for you. It is to make a difference in other people's lives. The true definition of wealth is not how much you have, it's how much of you people have. Each a single day, you must try to deposit something in other people's lives. So again, you have to be positioned to be found and packaged to be bought. As Nigerians, in anything that you do, position yourself to be found and packaged to be bought so that people can find you wherever you are. I was in Mississippi when they came to me and said, oh, you're the only one in the world that did this, I wasn't looking for that because, again, I don't compare myself to people. I'm not competing against anyone. I'm competing against myself. I just want to be the best version of myself, 2.0 of myself. So, but it doesn't matter. People say in Mississippi, what are you doing in Mississippi, But they found me there. And they found out I was a Nigerian. They said, your story is very, very imperative and we need to talk about this. So to answer your question, you can be anywhere and you can make a difference. The young man that talked about, I'm sorry, what was your question again? That you want to write a story? Like I said, I'm a very humble person. I'm very low-key. Again, I don't try to draw my attention to myself because, again, success is not about you. It is about what you've done to other people. If I've done something for myself and I get an award and people have not helped anybody around here, it's not functional. Everything has to be about functionality. What have you done? The rent that we pay in this world here, I mean, the price that we pay for being here is a rent for being here. So if you're in the world, we have a rent we've taken. History is going to judge you by what you do to humanity, not what you have taken from humanity. And that should be your goal. There was a third question. If you can remind me what that question was.
Yes, basically along the line, that was from John, along the line of tapping into distilling you, if I can use that word.
Well, listen, I don't know, I mean, you don't have to write anything about me. If you just need me to do anything to impact people, to do something for Nigeria in a way that can move Nigeria, that can, that can help the people, that is what I focus on. I don't focus on accolades or you don't have to write a story about me. Long after I've done the things that I need to do, history will history is only a chronicle of placement. We should not be a momentary fraction of a dot. We should always do something. And if people feel to write about me at some point, not now, later. But for now, there's work to be done, and that's what I want to focus on. So I'm not really focused on people writing a book about me or things like that.
Let's give Dr. Badero a round of applause. And really, I'm going to let him go now because he has a flight to catch. And we also need His Excellency Chief Olusegun Obasanjo to come upstage and give us his story. But before he does that, please give Dr. Badero another round of applause and let us thank God for his life. And let us ask that the Lord who brought him here safely will see him back home safely and that it shall be well with him in Jesus' name. Dr. Badero, thank you very much. God bless you.
Sorry, just a quick photo up. Members of the press, very quickly. Caroline, you can get up on stage. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause to Dr. Olurotimi Badero. Taking a cue from those who are very interested in the autobiography or writing a story, I think it's, we already have an example. There's the story of Dr. Bennett Omalu, for example, character played by Will Smith, which is Concussion, and documents his journey. And we know Nollywood is very much at the forefront. I mean, we've been nominated in the Oscars, even though there's still a bit of controversy on that. But the point is, the world has our attention and we have the world's attention. So if you're into filmmaking, for example, Doctor has made it quite clear he's not really going to bother himself with that. So you have an opportunity to tap into that and see how you can also tell his story. Okay, that's particular to Ade as well. For those who wanted to ask questions, I'm really, really sorry, we won't be able to take much. He's on his way to catch a flight, but I think it's the amount of time he spent with us is quite valuable, not the duration of the time he spent with us, and we really appreciate him being here. I don't know if I should say this, but this trip was a passion of love for him. He completely found his way here on his own bill, and with no financial implication to the organizers, because he believed in what was being done here. So I think that's another testimony to the type of person he is and how passionate he is about bringing back all his knowledge and experience back home. So once again, please, a round of applause to Dr. Olurotimi Badero as he makes his way. Thank you so much for that.
Okay, without wasting any time, we'll just allow.
So ladies and gentlemen, please, a national leader, conflict resolver, a groomed leader whose leadership traits have had a positive effect on Nigeria and Nigerians. Ladies and gentlemen, the two-time past leader of our nation, the one and only His Excellency Chief Olusegun Obasanjo. A round of applause for our daddy in the house, GCFR, our keynote speaker.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me start by giving an apology. But I do believe that when I explain myself, you will accept my apology. And maybe you will also think that maybe we should have another day for what I will call the full Nigeria story. Because if we are going to have a Nigerian story that we will all enjoy, it should not be from one point of view, and it should probably not be a story that you will have to tell in a few minutes. But let me start by thanking Pastor Itua Godalo for inviting me to speak on the Nigeria story at this august occasion, only a few days to the end of the year, and when many people are still struggling to clear their heads and their minds of the hangover of the Christmas merriments. When Pastor Itua first approached me to give a talk, he wanted me to speak on the topic Nigeria, the past, the present, and the future. And I agreed. On second thought, however, I decided that I should turn greater attention to our present and our future than to our past, given the short time allotted to me, even though the past is important to fully understand the present and to guide the future, I take it that any essential point on the past can be touched upon during the interaction after my presentation. But in this discussion on our present and our future, I have chosen to focus on the issues of debt, economic development, and sustenance of democracy. Because of the deleterious effects of these, if care is not taken on the legacy we will be bequeathing to the successor generations of Nigerians. I consider this topic a very important one that requires a lot more introspection and indeed circumspection. I say this because I considered it a duty and responsibility as a citizen to enrich public discourse with insights and perspectives on topical national issues. This is not in any way to put anyone on the spot, but rather to ensure that we have exhausted all possible alternatives on issues before we take a particular line of action which will affect this and the next generation and beyond. At my age, it is safe to assume that I cannot live for another number of years that I have already lived. And I honestly do not pray that I live for another 80 or even 40 or 30 more years. In essence, whatever may be my concern for tomorrow, it is purely based on my concerns for the succeeding generations of Nigerians, and surely not about me or my generation. And whatever the imagined gains I might be deemed by anybody to have in mind. I dare say that all well-meaning Nigerians who have contributed to the growth and development of our country since independence till date have a responsibility to make reasoned contributions no matter on what side of the divide we find ourselves. As a common collective that cannot be negotiated nor be allowed to be obliterated or tied to a millstone. There's a dangerous emerging trend today in Africa, and it is eerily familiar with developments on the continent in the 1970s. Our political leaders have suddenly developed not just a taste for, but a voracious appetite for debt. As usual, most of such debts that are procured are hardly thought through. Predictably, ability to repay such debts is lacking. Unfortunately for us, and unlike in the past, the new creditors are less tolerant of our limitations and inadequacies, and are now demanding to manage institutions and agencies with a view to recouping their loans. Such has happened in Sri Lanka. We extrapolate from this to decide the future impact on our already compromised sovereign existence. Current prognosis suggests that things might really get worse. The invitation and the choice of this topic for this gathering couldn't have been timelier. In this case, the issue of Nigeria rapidly sinking under the weight of debt, both foreign and domestic, should bother us all. Let me state at the onset that using debt to finance growth or development is a double-edged sword that must be wielded with a high degree of discipline, responsibility, and foresight. A well-calibrated debt for infrastructure and other developmental goals could be very positive. However, we do not need to speculate. We need to examine our historical experience. Everyone knows that our governments are notoriously deficient in serious and adequate discipline, and most often lack competence and consistency as well. We borrowed to build a light rail in Lagos, embarked on the project, and a succeeding governor abandoned the project for his full term of 4 years at 65% completion, when it should have started paying down on the loan. This light rail is important for the whole of Nigeria, not only with respect to man-hours of GDP that will have continued to be saved, but also because such loans are normally federally guaranteed. So it is a loan to be paid by all Nigerians. At the same time, there are bus terminals that were presidentially declared open, but not used. This type of situation was not in Lagos alone, but variously in other states like Rivers and Cross River. And the problem is not limited to the states. The federal government built a nice-looking extension to the Murtala Mohammed International Airport that looks completed from outside, but not in service. To rob Aboniki on the injury, some clowns are talking of demolishing the main airport and rebuild from scratch. Where on earth is a poor country wasting resources that way? Procuring debt in the first instance requires a clarity on the purpose, which must be linked with the ability to repay principal and interest as and when due. Defaulting on repayment is very easy and, if you like, very convenient. For in equal measure, it seems that creditors take special delight in debtors' inability to service debt. Delinquent behavior allows the opportunity to impose stipulated sanctions and later appear friendly by offering to restructure your debt. At the end of the day, what is done is simply to add your interest payments and other fees to the principal sum at a high premium. So, overnight, a debt of $1 million will become $5 million, in spite of the fact that over time you had prepaid $1.2 million. I say this without fear of contradiction. I have borrowed from banks as a private sector operator, and I've borrowed from multilateral institutions as a political leader for the country. So I believe you will understand my fears and experience about jumbo loans and my agony in getting rid of our external debts and developing a sustainable approach to address our domestic debts. It was a painstaking exercise that involved not just the national strategy, but a continental and international one, which eventually yielded significant gains. To now see all those efforts go to waste barely less than 15 years after that watershed moment is more than disturbing. It is painful and retrogressive. This warning alarm is also very important in light of Nigeria's pivotal position on the continent. Any headwind in Nigeria has tremendous impact on not just the West Africa, but on the continent as a whole. Nigeria accounts for nearly 20% of continental GDP and about 75% of the West African economy. Analysts have noted that since 2013, debt in Africa has risen rapidly, with a median debt to GDP ratio as percentage of GDP increasing to 53% in 2017. This led to about 1/3 of the countries in sub-Saharan Africa being classified as either in or at high risk of debt distress. Nigeria's leadership was key in the campaign for debt relief in the late 1990s and early 2000s. Our relapse into debt will be a wrong signal to the rest of the continent and could be tantamount to backing the entire continent into another era of highly indebted poor countries. Ladies and gentlemen, let me illustrate my concern more concretely. Without being immodest, I can claim to have experience in matters relating to our national debt, especially foreign ones. As military head of state during the era of excess funds in banks and credit institutions abroad, after increase in oil prices in the 1970s, which led to a sudden upsurge in liquidity, with which we were begged to borrow, using the same argument as we have today, that we were underborrowed. This led to the first jumbo loan, as it was called then, of $1 billion. By the time I came back as a democratically elected president, a little over 20 years later, we have two problems of debt. London Club, we constitute private sectors that have formed a cartel of creditors ganging up against us and making economic life difficult for us as a nation. And Paris Club, which was the Western government creditors, taking up what we borrowed in cash and kind from them and buying some debts of their private sector organizations. By the beginning of the 21st century, Nigeria has a debt burden of almost $36 billion, with about $31 billion owed to Paris Club and about $5 billion owed to London Club. We were spending almost $3 billion to service our debt annually without the quantum of debt going down, and with harsh penalty being accumulated and added to the quantum of the debt when we defaulted. In short, the situation we found ourselves in 1999-2000 was a suffocating debt burden. Those preaching to us that we were underborrowed had collected their commission and gone. Our own political leaders and civil servants, who unfortunately God convinced to lead us into the debt trap, were sitting pretty in their homes, and some of them sleeping pretty in their graves. As the then political leader, I inherited an economy with a meager $3.7 billion in foreign reserve, less than enough to finance or meet our import obligation for 6 weeks. What was more, crude oil was trading at about $9 per barrel. Our foreign creditors were barging down our doors, demanding payment. As I said earlier, at that time, we were committed to servicing our debt with about $3 billion every year. The really unnerving and totally annoying part of that reality then was that there was no consolidated and accurate record of Nigeria's debts. Unfortunately, the federal government had to accept responsibility for all foreign debts, no matter whether the debt was incurred by the Nigerian companies, state-level authorities, or federal authorities, as federal government is the sovereign authority. We clean up by establishing a central debt management office while embarking on seeking debt relief. Because we demonstrated leadership and commitment through self-imposed reforms, we were able to secure debt relief from the Paris Club. By 2006, our quantum of debt had come down to about $3.6 billion from about $36 billion. only about 10% of what it was before we got almost $20 billion relief. And we pay a little over $12 billion to the Paris Club, with a little out of it to the London Club to adjust our debt situation. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as at 2015, total external debt was about $10.32 billion. In 4 short years, by March 2019, our external debt grew to 24.9 trillion naira, or $81.274 billion. To service this current level of indebtedness, we must commit at least 50% of our foreign earnings. Such a situation talks about an impending bankruptcy. No entity can survive while devoting 50% of its revenue to debt servicing. It has recently been pointed out that in 2018, the total debt service cost took over 60% of government revenue. What is more, we are not doing enough to address the fundamental, deep-seated and structural challenges that inhibit the expansion of our economy. As if this is not bad enough, we are currently seeking to add another $29.6 billion as loan to our already overburdened debt portfolio. Our current budget, out of which we are spending 25% to service debt, is not only total earning, it's not our total earning. A lot of it is also borrowing. Simply put, we are borrowing to service what we have borrowed, and yet we are borrowing more. I do not need brain of any genius to conclude that those who use statistics to dig us deeper into debt are our enemies. Statistics can be used to serve any purpose, and that is why Winston Churchill talked of lies, damn lies, and statistics, meaning statistics can be made master of lies. The scale of the challenge coming our way is quite enormous. There has to be an honest and frank appreciation of this by government at all levels, local, state, and federal. We need nothing short of a national dialogue or debate on our short, medium, and long-term plans as a nation, which to me is faced in 5 years, 10 years, and 20 years, and even beyond. My biggest worry is that with the scale of debts we are walking into with our eyes wide open, there are already fiscal challenges to meet our obligations. The current situation, where we are already spending significant percentage of our budget on debt servicing and another chunk on recurrent expenditure, leaving very little or nothing for capital investment, is not a durable and sustainable approach to development and progress. This will even get worse when oil with gas that we rely on will no longer command premium demand as in the past. For one thing at least, at least 50% of countries in Africa have discovered oil and gas in reasonable quantity and are offering more attractive terms to investors than we are offering, and drawing away serious investors from us. There are even more discoveries outside of Africa that have given better attraction to international oil and gas investors. There are alternatives in the wind, solar, and other forms of energy that are becoming cheaper by the day with ever-improving technology in these areas. The issues of climate change is daily making oil and gas less important than they have been up till now. Electric cars and solar-driven other forms of means of mobility and transportation will make oil and gas more in the ground than being exploited for transportation. Taking everything together, we may, in the short term of about 5 years, still see ourselves as making something out of oil and gas. In the medium term of 10 years or thereabout, our oil and gas may be more for domestic use than for earning reasonable resources from export. In the long term of 20 or more years, most cars and other means of transportation might have got out of petroleum products for propulsion. What is the Nigerian strategy for this fast approaching time when pure water will be worth much more than oil? An international hue and cry on climate change may not even permit us to use our oil and gas for energy generation. What are we going to have for energy generation and in what mix? The fate of our minerals will be similar to oil and gas as wasting assets that are not renewable. We must therefore make hay while the sun shines. This is when the real impact of these debts we are piling up will start to bite. What is more, we may never secure another debt relief. Remember that Algeria, with President Bouteflika, tried everything they could to secure debt relief, which we did secure for Nigeria. They never got it. I know for a fact that cornucopia of the international community's mercy is decidedly thin. It is unlike God's rains that fall on the just and the wicked alike. I fear for the future we are bequeathing to our children and to their children and their children's children. I believe that it will be foolhardy, irresponsible, and wicked for us to tie a millstone of debt around the neck of the successor generations of Nigerians. We need to take hard and important decisions that will facilitate a balanced allocation of resources to both capital and recurrent expenditures. At this juncture, the important question to ponder will surely be to ask if there are no other options to debt that is being incurred. Surely in the global investment and capital market, there are other options. First, if our infrastructure is well packaged, private sector investment can be encouraged and mobilized. Well-packaged infrastructure can be made to pay in the medium term. Another option will be to use public-private partnership to fund some of the various infrastructural projects. I guess the concern will be that the management and ownership will not be vulnerable to local political manipulations. For once, all Nigerians need to rise up and shout in one voice and call on the National Assembly to rise up to its core duty and responsibility and save our children and our grandchildren and their grandchildren from being mired in debt. Let us use other options. Now, Saudi Arabia, I understand, will be raising over $20 billion to finance projects through private equity. We can do likewise. We have several national assets that could be used to raise some of the funds that we need in this respect for infrastructural development to give assurance to private sector investors and PPP investors if necessary. We should then open the economy widely and incentivisely, but guardedly, to private sector development and investment. Now is the time for bold action. Rhetoric and bare minimum reforms will not yield the desired changes we want. This is an opportunity. This is an opportune moment to mobilize the best brains within and outside the country to prepare a Nigerian Agenda 2050, a 30-year agenda to make Nigeria become one of the 10 leading nations of the world by UN standard at all socioeconomic levels. The agenda must be based on post-oil and gas boom. Such plan must be fashioned in a way that it becomes a socioeconomic contract that will guide any government coming into power in the next 30 years. We have a lot to do beyond partisan politics to get us out of the 25th position among the poorest nations in the world. And we are still going further down. Such agenda should also, among other things, be predicated on 7 critical areas. One area is education. Access to equality and continuing relevant education should be the key watchword here. We need to invest heavily in education, in educating our people for the realities of work for today and tomorrow. Our educational goals must be such that they align, enable, and empower the realization of our Agenda 2050 goals. The reforms around education must reasonable and resonate with global discussions on the place of science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics, STEAM, in the future of work. We have the population to drive the change. We want, if adequately educated, enabled, skilled, and resourced. Already, we have an obvious starting point. In the 14 million children out of school in Nigeria, in the country, we can adopt morning and afternoon schools to cope with the number of children that we have to educate. Over the next 30 years, we should target to have at least 10 of our universities in the first 25 best African universities, and 5 among the best 1,000 universities in the world. Popular education is a must at this stage. The first decade of Agenda 2050 must get us to education for all. Education up to secondary school, free and compulsory for all Nigerian children, taking us beyond UPE, and UBE. Second area is on health and social welfare and social well-being. We need to invent our primary and basic healthcare system and to reinvent it, as well as encourage universal coverage of health insurance scheme. The private sector should be encouraged to establish state-of-the-art medical facilities, treatment from which we can cover, which can be covered by health insurance and or private payment currently going as outflows to India, Europe, and America. Manufacturing and industrialization is the third area. Our quest for industrialization is now a matter of survival. There is need to transform our manufacturing sector, providing goods and services for our domestic consumption. The fourth is infrastructure, which includes availability of power at reasonable price, land and water, and transportation, land and water transportation, communication, water supply and housing and sanitation. Fifth is agribusiness for food security, nutrition security, industrialization through value addition and processing, export and marketing, foreign exchange earning and employment generation. Agribusiness covers the value chain from manufacturing of equipment for land clearing and land preparation to food on the table. It is the largest sector to provide hope and employment for the youth, not only in land clearing to food on the table, but also in tourism and hospitality. Six is getting our politics right and understanding that politics is a means to an end and not an end in itself. We must be able to ask ourselves what sort of political atmosphere, rhetoric, and disposition will help to drive the transformation we so desire. We simply cannot have a stone-deaf political attitude that is diametrically opposed to the goals of the Nigerian Agenda 2050. The current situation of the prevalence of politics of cooptation, wherein the military, the judiciary, and the National Assembly have all been faithfully co-opted, cannot be the road to follow for healthy democracy. Votes don't seem to matter anymore in Nigeria elections, as declarations are made by co-opted INEC to be ratified by cowed and co-opted judiciary in accordance with the wishes and desires of the powers that be. No wonder an editorial declares democracy has already been in intensive care unit in Nigeria. It is the responsibility of Democrats in and out of the country to join hands to defend and save democracy in Nigeria for the good of all Nigerians. Failure in this regard is ominous and forebodes an impending disaster for the country. I have been a victim of a non-democratic Nigeria, and I can assure and attest that it is the worst thing that anybody can wish, plan, or do to Nigeria. Our politics must enable growth and transformation. Our politics must respect and venerate diversity, because that is what makes us what we are as Nigerians. Our politics must ensure our governance agenda and power our regional and global ambition. there has to be a synchronization, not just at the federal, but also at the federating unit, including states and local government. Where there is need for reform in our politics and political arrangement and system, we must not fight shy to embark on such reform. Maybe recognition has begun with President Buhari at his 77th birthday, acknowledging the flaws of this year's election by promising that he will work for free, fair, and credible elections next time around. I hope and pray that the promise will be backed by credible action. Last but not least, for me, is our standing at the regional and international level. What seems to have happened is that we have quietly ceded our normal position in regional and international affairs. We are, by all that God has given us, a leading African nation. We have to wear and play that role boldly, assertively, and intentionally, but mindful of concern and interest of others. We should be at the forefront of key regional projects and programs, such as the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. We must not just be big brother, we must be exemplary. We must use our influence at this level to attract positive attention to our goals as a demonstration of the domestication of agreed and shared values at the continental levels, as well as in contribution to the goals of the African Union Agenda 2063 and United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 2030. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let us take stock of the last 60 years, which have been mixed blessings. But facing the truth, our performance in totality as a nation is inadequate. Whatever we have planned, we are falling short of it by a wide margin. By 2020, we will put 60 years of Nigeria as an independent country behind us. There should be no lamentation or self-condemnation, but critical and honest appraisal and examination. Our collective challenge should be how to ensure that we grow our economy at least at two times the rate at which we grow our population. And better still, we should grow at double-digit rate for a considerable length of time to be able to make 20, 50, 10. The forecast now are scary. At the present rate, Nigeria's population by 2050 will be well over 400 million, and Lagos alone will be over 40 million. If we continue as we are going now, and we have gone up till now, start and stop in the past, we will be one of the most wretched of the world, and maybe the most wretched in Africa. However, we have a chance. I believe so strongly in our ability as a nation to pull together under a committed leadership to snatch victory from the jaws of division, poverty, and death. What gives me the greatest hope is in our youth, dynamic, resourceful, irresistible, and outgoing. And we have just seen such example in Dr. Lurotimi, giving encouragement and opportunities, our youth will fly above the clouds and get Nigeria there. We must have the tremendous power and resources of our youth, laced with morality, high principles, and cherished values. I count on them for our redemption. Without mincing words, in addition to impunity, incompetence, corruption, gross electoral malpractices, and mismanagement of diversity, the greatest threat to our democracy is poverty. The concern is that if we do not marshal a clear plan and idea on how our politics should lead to human capital development, we might be in for challenging times ahead. What this means practically is that social and economic frustration will push people to the edge, and they will begin to question the instrumental value of democracy to them. Democracy that does not deliver to majority of the people with tangible dividend cannot be seriously embraced by the victims, which 70% of Nigerians are today. The youth are already losing hope and confidence in the present system practiced and operated by the political elite. It is bad and dangerous signal. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, once again, as I conclude, if anybody tells us that adding more debt to what we have is the way to go, he will either need to prove it to us beyond reasonable doubt, or he or she will have to have his head really examined. It is even important to know that the World Bank is saying something different from those to those claiming we are underborrowed. The way to go is to make Nigeria the irresistible destination for private investors in Africa. We need to grow the economy to increase the size of the cake rather than consuming what should have been used to grow and enlarge the economy. Growing the economy should be left with genuine entrepreneurs, not on tribal or religious sentiment, but with conducive and sustained inviting conditions and environment. But the environment must be conducive and return on investment must be right, appropriate, and adequate. Nigeria lost the last 2 decades of the last century, and the little progress made in the first decade of this century has been wiped out. But let's put the last 2 decades of the last century and the first 2 decades of the present century behind us and plan and execute vigorously for the next 3 decades, so that when by 2050 the population of Nigeria will be over 400 million, and those who will make it happen are already born. And with Lagos having over 40 million, as 86 people come into Lagos every hour, as we were told by the governor of Lagos, the highest of any city in the world, we can happily say we are getting there. That can only be achieved not by closing in, but by opening up and out and letting ideas, views, and resources contend. May God give us the enabling environment of the commitment, service, and sacrifice that this season symbolizes and demands. It is still not too late to continue to wish ourselves the blessings of the Christmas and the hope, happiness, and success of the new year 2020, which will be the 60th year of Nigeria as an independent country. I thank you and thank God to continue to bless Nigeria.
Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure we can do much, 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 much more than that. The silence in the room is a testimony to the depth and the gravity of what Baba has said. I'll hand over.
Come on, let's give Chief Olusegun Obasanjo a very, very warm and hearty round of applause. That is indeed a very deep, very incisive, very well researched, very thorough paper, and something from the depth of his heart. Let's give Baba another round of applause, please.
Just very quickly, the hashtag Why I'm Alive party is #1 trending right now. So feel free to tweet about this, take pictures, comment, anything that has caught your attention. Please feel free to share with it on social media. The hashtags are the Nigerian story and Why I Am Alive party. Those are the two hashtags trending right about now, which means the conversation is ongoing. So what we're going to do very quickly, because of time, we're going to rearrange things a bit. We have some awards to present, and the good Dr. Badira has been able to hold on just a bit longer. And at this point, I'd like to call on the convener of the Why I'm Alive campaign, the person of Carolyn Moore, to please come on stage. A round of applause to her, ladies and gentlemen. She is or has been working with her team effortlessly and tirelessly to ensure that this event holds on the day as scheduled. So please, let's show some love to her and give her a warm round of applause as she comes on stage. You will get to hear from her in a couple of minutes. I'd like to call on the good Dr. Rotimi Badero, who is receiving the Most Purposeful Person in Healthcare Award. And so please, a round of applause to him as we make the presentation as well. The second recipient of the award this evening is going to a gentleman who probably needs no introduction if you're in that space. But for those who do not know, he is known as the, is it the Shomolu King, or the Duke of Shomolu, sorry. He's positively disrupting society with some very strategic theater productions. He's an associate member of the Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers Nigeria and has attended several career enhancement courses, including the Senior Management Program at Pan Atlantic University, Lagos. Recently, he did one of his biggest shows ever, Emotan, as he catered for so many children and widows. Already, he has reached an advanced stage in bringing to the African and global stage his work, that's Aremo, which depicts in very succinct terms the life and times of one of the most influential statesmen of our time, whom you've just heard from, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, GCFR. And for the great works he's done and the numerous lives he's touched, it's with great joy that we convey the award of Upcoming Most Purposeful Person in Creativity and Art. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause to Joseph Edgar. A round of applause to him, please. So we're going to do the photo op and the presentation for Doctor first.
Wow.
And then after we'll have Joseph.
On behalf of the Why I'm Alive campaign, and on behalf of all of us here present, I present this award presented to Dr. Olurotimi Badejo for Olurotimi Badero for the most purposeful person in healthcare, dated 27 December 2019. Congratulations. Thank you, sir.
Fantastic. Congratulations, sir. And of course, up next is Joseph Edgar, who's recently most renowned for writing the play Aremo, depicting the lives and times of Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, GCFR. So this award is probably very special and important to him. So a round of applause to him for taking up the upcoming Most Purposeful Person in Creativity and Art.
Joseph Edgar, this is presented on behalf of Why I Am Alive campaign for the upcoming Most Purposeful Person in Creativity and Art, dated 27 December 2019. Congratulations. How much work is going on? Work is going on very well.
So we'll have a quick photo up of all the recipients today. Unfortunately, we do have two others who are not able to attend. Michel Elegbe is the CEO and founder of InterSwitch Group, and his award is for the most purposeful person in information and technology. And of course, the award for the most purposeful person in entertainment and film is to Funke Akindele Bello, CEO Scene One Productions, producer of Jennifer's Diary. So if there's anyone representing any of them, please do make your way. But on that note, please a round of applause to our recipients of the Why I Am Alive, the Nigerian story holding today. It is indeed an inspiring one. Thank you very much for taking the time here. We wish you all the best, and we look forward to hearing from you and your works as well. Please note we do have a Q&A with Baba, and of course Pastor Ituan will be leading that charge, but we also have a word from Caroline as well.
Okay, so Caroline, do you want to speak quickly, or do you want us to take the Q&A? Huh? Okay. Would you take? Yes, yes. So if you have questions for Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, please, you want to indicate so that we can take you number 1, number 2, Chinasa, number 3, somebody at the back there, number 4. We'll take you one after the other, but I'll just like okay, and you've all been giving copies of the book, so we're going to ask you to ask questions from the book. But before Baba takes the questions.
It's an honor, it's a pleasure. I don't know how to express how happy, how privileged, and how honored I feel to have you in the house today. I want to say a big thank you to the chairman of the advisory board. He has supported and he has facilitated a lot of this. And to so many people that have made this come true. And when I say so many, that can be so many in just one person. I also want to say thank you to our sponsors for supporting this as well and believing, just like their slogan says, succeeding together. But I'm going to make this really fast so we can get to the question and answer session. And I want to talk about the Why I'm Alive campaign initiative itself. My name is Caroline Moore. I'm the CEO of Eureka Productions Limited. That's the organization to which this initiative was birthed from in the first place. And I want to talk about why we birthed it in the first place. It came from a belief. When there was no belief, I would walk through life and I would wonder why there were so many people everywhere. I would drive through the driveway and I would see children under the bridge. I would see people beg, and I would see able-looking young people run around with plantain chips and gala. And I would wonder, is this really all of the reason why this individual has come to the world? Is this the only reason to run with these sachets of water? Is that the only thing this young person is going to do? And at the end of the day, die. And I would wonder why I was privileged to be in a home where I could get things that I need in order to facilitate my own dreams, some sort of support or some sort of help. And I would write, okay, why am I in a car? And why are they on the streets? And I didn't get the answers to those things as soon as I wanted to. But as I went through life, I began to realize that they were not less privileged. The reason why there's not a balance is because we have not individually discovered that we are all alive for a purpose. And when I discover the purpose to why I'm existing and I empower those children on the street, they will also be able to live their purpose and empower the next set of children that seem like they're not living for any purpose. And I felt, I'm a media entrepreneur. What way is the best way for us to carry that message? Because I feel so strongly that it's the lack of faith, is the belief that you're not alive for any reason that would make a young lady sell her body because of money. sell her body for a meal, sell her body for shelter. There's no hope. She's already given up and she believes this is the only way out for me. Another person would also do fraud or go into drugs or steal or do one level of what they call 419 because they don't believe there's anything else on the inside for them to do. And I felt, okay, I can't just sit down and watch these young people. I can't just sit down and look at these ones. They do have, but maybe life caught up with them and so the dreams died inside of them, and life catches up with us a lot of times. And just like Dr. Badero said at a point in time, it's the decision to believe that there is something more than having to beg at the train station. That even while he was begging at the train station, he believed that there was still something on the inside of him that can change his story. And because he fought for his own life and he fought for the reason for his existence, that's why he could stand upon this stage today and share that story. And I know there's one young person in Nigeria, one young person seated in this room today that's inspired that even though you've not had a good meal today, tomorrow you can be the first and only doctor or surgeon, kidney and heart surgeon in the world. Imagine from the train station begging to be the first and only. There had to be something burning on the inside of him. And that's why I said, you know what? This is the platform. We have the opportunity to take this platform and empower as many as possible. I strongly believe that every individual is alive for a purpose. And the reason why we have so many young, poor, so many young people in fraud, and so many young people prostituting and doing all sorts of negative things all over the place, so many unemployed young folks, is because we have not stood up to say, okay, I take upon myself one Nigerian. I'll take upon myself those 3 kids that I see on my way to work every single day, roaming around the streets doing nothing. I take 2 of them. Another person takes 4. Another person takes 5. And someone takes 10. Because the truth is, if you're privileged to have a meal on your table, shelter over your head, then it's your responsibility to change the narrative of this nation. And one of the ways we're going to do that is by having events like this. Now we have, so far, we've gone out. We went to some schools this year. These are the milestones of the event. Can you play the video while I'm talking, please? So one of the milestones for us this year was going to secondary schools. The secondary schools in the rural areas where there are young people that their parents say, the reason why my child does not know anything is that they don't even have any food in their tummy, so they can't listen to the teacher. There's no food. So even if they want to manage the education that is free, there's nothing to go on. They don't have enough money to go to school every day. So the day that there's 50 naira, they go. And the day there's no 50 naira, they stay at home. So we went to those schools to go and engage them and tell them, no matter what your situation is now, you are alive for a purpose. But we can't just change the mindsets and do these seminars and do these trainings and talk and share our story without taking an action. So we gave them little scholarships to ensure that they can get a meal to go to school so they can listen. And we gave them little scholarships so we can ensure that they stay in school. Now we are very particular about the mindset of the individual, because the truth is, if you empower the wrong mindset, you will not get the results. So aside from going to the schools, we went to the universities as well. And we asked them, you're learning. As a young person in university, what do you want to do when you get out of school? Has anyone brainwashed you and told you that there's going to be a bed of roses? You should have a dream, something you want to go after, and when you make up your mind and go after it, you will accomplish it. Now, it's when the mindset is right that they can be empowered. And we gave them little scholarships as well, letting them know that they're alive for a purpose. We didn't stop there. We went to the market space, the local market, where some of the whole market is just about 5,000 naira. Some of them, everything they're selling is 15,000 naira. And we engaged them one-on-one in English. We went with Yoruba presenters, we went with Igbo presenters, and we went to go and engage them and ask them, why are you alive? Why do you wake up every morning, even though everything you're doing is less than 20,000 naira? What makes you still want to live? So that means there's still a little bit of hope. And I said to her, you are taking care of little children with this tray of crayfish That's about 15,000 naira. Do you know that your son might be the president of Nigeria tomorrow? With that little spark of hope and assisting her to make sure that her business doesn't die, what we did will inspire hope in her. So for example,
there's a reason why you are alive.
I have a few peculiar students. The Why I'm Alive campaign is going to be sponsoring them.
We're supporting his talent, we're supporting his dream, we're supporting his bravery.
The Why I'm Alive campaign is live here at Yabate.
I want you to listen to me very well. The success of some people are tied to your life.
This is like the value you can attach to the world around you.
What I learned actually was, he said, the success of other people depends on you.
In one of the biggest local governments in the whole of Lagos State, we're going straight into the market space and asking them, why are you alive?
My life because I have the grace.
Thank you very much.
So I want to go back to what I'm saying. Can you put off the sound, please? Thank you very much. And we believe strongly that when we went into the market space and we engaged them, some of them even started crying. So there's a little bit of hope, but there's no help and there's no support. So we supported them. But it's very important that the mindset is also in the right place. Because if you give a market woman that the mindset is in the wrong place, 50,000 naira, she can go home and tell her husband, look, Mr. Man, we're no longer in the same level. I'm not that woman that used to give 500 naira yesterday. And then she thinks of the money as something for her to brag about. But we made sure that their mindsets were in the right place. Invest this money in your business and raise your children, because there's a possibility that they can become the citizens that will change this nation. We had the Why I'm Alive Masterclass and we had so many different ones. And I want to share with you briefly in just 3 minutes, the 2020 initiative. In 2020, we're going to go back to the secondary schools, and we're hoping to go to at least 48 secondary schools in Nigeria, 48 of them, and go back to where those children may have not become anything. But because of this initiative, because of you and I, there's a possibility that they can live a purposeful life. And we're going to move from there. We're going to go to the universities. We're going to about 10 of them. And we're also going to be going to the market space again. Now, the 2020 initiative is just to empower 1,000 market women with 100,000 naira. So altogether, we're also going to be making a film on why I am alive. Now, when I was at the back having my interview, someone asked me that if they were dancing here today, twerking and all of that and making a lot of noise, the whole hall will be filled with young people. What are we going to do to make the minds of the young people change? I said, what we need to do is penetrate the media. The media is the tool. They're the one that controls the minds of the young people. So all we need to do, just like when you want to make a child take a pill of medicine and they don't want to take it, you wrap it in a morsel of eba. You put the pill inside it and you make them swallow it without knowing. Wrap these messages in the places that they would not know that you're trying to pass a message across to them, and let them know that life is more than just dancing, opening your body, fraud, and all the negative things that they're filled around now because their mindsets are in the wrong place. Media is the tool. The 2020 initiative has been put together, and all the things that we want to do, because of time I would have broken it down properly, is going to cost us $1 million. That's 360 million naira. Now, just like this event, at some point in time, we didn't know whether it was going to happen or not. And someone asked me, why are you telling people that you need $1 million to do the Why I'm Alive campaign initiative 2020? Do you think that somebody is going to give you $1 million? Well, I have a faith in something that is beyond me. And whether the person is in this room or not, we know, because we've done the 2019 initiative, we're going to have the 2020 initiative. It is possible, and we're looking forward to it. And all we're going to do to achieve that is $1 million. And at the end of 2020, just as we've gathered in this room and media from all over Nigeria and even in the diaspora are watching us right now, we will gather together in December 2020 to also share with you how we have spent every penny of that $1 million. So thank you very much for coming. God bless you. And I believe that the success, the lives of young Nigerians all over Nigeria and in the diaspora are tied to your success. And I believe that when we stand up and begin to move in that direction, changing the narrative through the power of storytelling and through the media, we will change the lives of Nigerians and the narrative of Nigeria as a whole, in Nigeria and all over the world. Thank you very much.
Well, let's give a round of applause to Caroline Moore. Caroline, thank you very much. The Why I'm Alive campaign 2020. And the faith is that somewhere in this room, somewhere beyond, a group of people will come together and be able to present to the campaign $1 million that will help to change the thinking of a collective of Nigerians, help to begin to create Nigerians that will be part of the story of a greater Nigeria, help to shape the thinking so that Nigeria stops going into debt, like Chief Obasanjo has said, and begin to think creatively of how to come out of debt and how to finance the things that Nigerians need to do to make Nigeria what it needs to be. Like Chief Obasanjo said, what we need to do is to create a Nigeria that attracts investments from all over the world. There's lots of investments looking for a place to invest in. If only we can create the environment, the narrative, the topic, the je ne sais quoi, the collective of people that will take this money, use this money very well. Even within Nigeria, there are lots of Nigerians that have more than enough to invest in a great and wonderful Nigeria. And that's why the Why I'm Alive campaign is trying to hook into that sort of narrative to create a space for the youth and to create a space for a mature Nigeria to really turn this country around. You can feel the passion with which he speaks. You can feel the concern with which Chief Obasanjo has spoken also. You can feel the yearning of Nigeria for a greater Nigeria. And I feel that in this room, there are many people who would like to contribute to making Nigeria truly great again. I want to thank you all for listening, and I'm going to ask you all now to please bring your questions forward so that Chief Obasanjo can answer those questions, because there's no other person better qualified to help Nigeria give a charter course and present a narrative of how Nigeria can work. And I do hope that from what he has said, there will be groups of people willing to be part of the core that will begin to write the story for the 2050 dream, the 2050 plan, that if we can execute that plan stage by stage, year by year, series by series, we can truly have an outstanding Nigeria in 2050. So if there's anybody here tonight, you want to ask some questions to Chief Obasanjo. There was somebody here. Yes. So we're going to take it one by one. We'll take a few questions. Maybe we'll take 4 questions. We'll get him to answer that. Take another set of 4 questions. Then we see where we are at the end of that. Can somebody please note those questions so that we can. So, sir, please tell your name, your phone number, your age, your bank account detail.
And your BVN.
And your BVN.
Yes.
So that you can contribute to pay off Nigeria's debt. That's what you have to do. You look like you can pay Nigeria's debt. Thank you very much.
So quickly, very quickly, please. I need to stress this. It's a very time-conscious period. So please, your name, what you do, and your question directly. Please do try to address questions that have more to do with what Baba said. You all have a copy of the book, which is The Challenges of Debt and Sustenance of Democracy. If you all have that, you can go through that and draw some questions from that. But please, let's keep it focused. I will interject and I will cut you off if you do go off course because of time, and mostly because time is precious and Baba also needs to go. Over to you, sir.
Thanks. By name, I'm Patrick Ete. I write, I act, and I'm a diesel merchant. Daddy, we are grateful for the lecture, and God will keep you for us in Jesus' name. Now, I strange flattery, but while you were in power, I know you were able to secure a lot of debt forgiveness for Nigeria. But right now, it's like we are back in the hole. That is what I feel. And now we are just being told that $29 billion loan is to be taken again for infrastructures. We want investment, but a lot of people believe a lot of things are not in place. The government believes it is the way to go. Baba is saying it's not the way to go. So where do we go from here? That's the first one. The governors are taking a lot of money from the center, but they are not paying salaries. And a lot of people, are hungry. So how can we do it that when they get the money meant for the people, it will get to the people? Because recently, the federal government said they will be going directly to the local government chairman, remitting money to them, but a lot of them are stooge. They are there for the governors. The governors, when they leave office, what they earmark for themselves is killing. And we are wondering, where do we go from here? And lastly, the power project. Why is it so difficult that in spite of so much money that has been sunk into it, till now, we're in darkness?
Thank you very much. So the money getting to the people as it should get to them, and also the issue of the power project. Please, let's confine our questions to one question, please. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Chinasa Amechi Igodalo. Thank you. Mine is one, a plea, and the second is partnership. Carola Moore said something about, educating the children, going to schools, and all of that. I think we can partner to first visit the Minister of Education of Nigeria. Because for children to have a better education, we need to address it from the top. They appoint these ministers. No young person takes out time to go and visit these people and give them tasks of what they need to do and set them up. Make them do what is necessary for this country. And two, Baba, I met you first at Chief Ayo Adebanjo's house, and I gave you a copy of my book, Nigerian Change Begins in the Mind. I've sat with a lot of past leaders and present leaders, and I'm here to sit with you, sir. Please, I'm appealing to have a session with you, because I know for Nigeria to be a better place is beyond us just talking. There needs to be an obstruction in action. So I'm one of those. I'm sure Pastor Ito will be surprised hearing me, but I'm one of those, in the pipeline. So I would please want to meet with you once a month or twice a month. Yes, because I know you have so much knowledge that you need to transfer to us before you go. Thank you.
Baba, I think that will be at your farm, sir. I'm assuming the location is the farm. The third person was somewhere. Was it? Are you sure you're just telling me to come here? Okay. So let's take this first three questions. Your name and.
All right, Baba. Good afternoon, sir. My name is Princess Adeyinka Tekena. I'm a Malian. I'm just joking. Now, I'm in the agri segment. I actually have a coffee company that I started 4 years ago. And then we have infrastructure issues in terms of how we can, because you talked about the agri business. Now, my question goes to you this way. We have banks who pay musicians a huge amount of money for one performance, like we saw in the news the other day. I'm a business owner. I can barely get a loan from the bank to do my business. I actually got a loan from one bank, and I went through, I don't want to use the word hell, to get funding from a bank. How do we begin to create the opportunity for business owners like ourselves who are in the agri sector, the opportunity to have the resources we need to build franchises for the future? And how do we also get technical support? Because I believe that for businesses like myself, it's not just funding that we need. We need technical support from people who have done this before us. How do we begin to engage and create opportunities for us to grow our businesses without... Yes. How do we continue to create experiences for ourselves to grow our businesses without paying lip service to growth for the agri sector? Because what we have right now is lip service. We need proper engagement for business owners like myself, especially in the coffee sector? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Do you want to take those three, sir?
I thank you very much. I think the question, the first point was made, government says they will go for more debt. I say, it's not question of I say or government say. What is good for Nigeria? That is the question. Look, and I think I made it clear. I came in 1999, I made $36 billion debt. It was costing us $3 billion to service, and the quantum of debt was not going down. As of today, we have over $81 billion debt. I don't know if it was costing us $3 billion to service $36 billion, and the quantum of debt is not going down. Today, you will need a minimum of $10 billion to service the debt we have. Now, the point I am making is when you take that with what we are wasting, and I put wasting in code, on our legislators. Now imagine a state like Zamfara. The governor on retirement, he made a law that he should be paid 10 million naira a month, basic salary. And all the other things will amount to another 10 million naira a month, 20 million naira for a state like Zamfara. And if you have 5 governors retired after 4 years, that will be costing that state over 100 million a month. Now, what is justification for that? And then Zamfara will go out to federal government and say, we are taking loan. So it's not question of whether governors are saying this. What is right for Nigeria? Some of the loans that I have to pay, let me tell you the story of one. A governor took a loan of $8 million for carpet industry, turnkey, which means it will be produced and you will give the key to the governor and say the carpet was ready, the industry was ready. They drew the money to the last penny. And the site for the carpet industry was not even cleared. When I took that up and I said I was not going to pay, the lender showed me small print where it says how the money is spent is not the responsibility of the lender. We have to pay. So what we are saying is, look at our situation. Is this right? That's number one. The second point we are saying is that, look, are there alternatives that will not put us at the mercy of the lender? And I try to prove that there are alternatives. Then you talk about money not going to where it should go. I talk about corruption. And then if you look in what I write, I believe we have to go to the we have to go to the drawing board for the way to fight corruption successfully. I think now we are getting a lot of heat, but not enough light. We need to get light in our way of fighting corruption. Now, Madam, I think you should see one of my assistants, and then we arrange for a meeting. It won't be monthly. It will not even let alone twice a month. But let us meet and discuss and look at Maurice. Take Madam's particulars and look at my calendar.
Okay.
And Madam can have
A round of applause.
agribusiness. Madam, one of the things I was saying in the lecture is that if we are going to look for employment for our teeming population of youth, one area that will solve the problem for us is the area of agribusiness. And Madam, I talk of agribusiness, not even agriculture or farming, agribusiness. And I try to explain that from land equipment, even for land clearing, land preparation, up to food on the table, the whole value chain. Now, you talk about the problem of loan. I think we are not taking agribusiness seriously. And it's unfortunate you made the mistake I made. Maybe we have no other choice. I went to the commercial bank to take loan. And I sweated. And I will not go into any commercial bank to go and borrow money for agribusiness again. Because I even made a mistake. I borrowed money from about 4 banks. And when I was getting into difficulty, I got the 4 banks together. And never you make that mistake. Then they ganged up against me. I believe we have to find the way to do agriculture. You cannot go to a commercial bank and borrow money to do agribusiness, except you are trading. If production, you cannot borrow money at the rate of 15% interest and say you are producing something on your farm. Whatever you are trying to produce, livestock, crops, vegetables, whatever, unless you are producing cocaine, you will not be able to pay. So we have to find a way of dealing with the issue of agribusiness. And I say that those of us who have gone into it, we've gone into it as a national service. We've gone into it because of the passion we have for it. We've gone into it because you get satisfaction when you go into your farm, whether it's crop or livestock, and you are among the things that you are growing, you have a different sense. But Madam, technical support, if there is any area, I have experience in livestock, particularly poultry. I've gone into a bit of cattle, I've gone into a bit of piggery, I've gone into a bit of rabbitry, I've gone into grass cutter, I've gone into snailry. If there are areas where we can share experience and technical expertise, I will be willing to do that. But Money, I think anything that is above double digit, that is above single digit rather, for loan for agribusiness, don't touch it. Otherwise, you will not be able to pay. All right.
Thank you very much, sir. We have one written question here. Pastor Igadal, I think you have one as well. Then I'll take one from the audience here.
Yes. Baba, I want to ask you a question. What are we going to do to approach the leadership question in Nigeria, and what strategies are we going to employ to make sure that our process throws up the right kind of leaders? The challenge that we have had is that every time it's time to choose leaders, somehow or the other, we don't quite get the best. And until we have a process that can give us the best kind of leadership in Nigeria, we'll be having a lot of conversation. The paper we have said today, if we don't have people who believe in it, people who trust it, people who are ready to implement it, it will end up as a paper. So, Baba, you need to tell us, you've been there since 1960, what are we going to do to ensure that come 2023, the right person becomes the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? I want you to tell us.
Pastor Itua, if it was possible for me to be able to look among the people sitting here and say, if I bring this man or this woman up to be a leader, this is what he will do, then I will make money by being a soothsayer. There's no way by which you can read what a man or a woman will do as a leader on his face. In fact, it's even worse if you only believe that what has happened is that we have allowed politics to take upper hand. When I go to my village, I say to people, when I was growing up in my village, if you come from outside and you say, look, we are bringing a particular something here, a development of some sort, and the elders will get together. And you say, yes, you want to use this man to be in charge. And the leaders in the village know that that man is not the right man. They won't say to you that he's not the right man. They will say to you, Israel. Israel's farm is far. Okwegani, far. So when we need him, he will be too far in the farm. Now let us use Isaac. Isaac's farm is nearby. Now what they are saying to you is that Israel is not the right man for the job. Isaac is the right man. We didn't vote. They didn't vote. They know themselves within the community. Now, the people we vote for, how many of them do we know? Those of us who vote for them, how many of them do we know? And don't forget, democracy that we are practicing, it started in Greece. They called themselves out how it started. And they know themselves. Until we find a way of knowing deeply the people that we are going to vote for, even at the local level, government level. That will be the first thing knowing them sufficiently to be able to pick the right person. Number one. Number two, our system must be settled. Excuse me. A situation where a governor could, before he leaves office, pass law that will pay him the way these people, it is daylight robbery. Now, what can we do to ensure that? It's there. The Constitution states those who should make, determine the salary of all elected officers. If the, what do you call it? Revenue mobilization and allocation. They are the one to make, but nobody goes by that. So it is not that the law is not there. It's not that the system, even for that, is not there. Our lawmakers were the ones who broke that law, the Constitution. It was what they have done is anti-constitutional. It's unconstitutional. So what do we do? I think we will continue to try, go by trial and error until we hit it. But I don't believe anybody can tell you that this is the man who will make it. I see a man who has no integrity, who has no moral scruples, who has no principle, and you ask me to vote for him. And if you say, don't vote for him, he will go and buy. Somebody came, I went to my village, this last election. And they said, the morning I got there, they said somebody had brought money. It's the one they will vote for. I said, who brought the money? They didn't tell me. But the result of the election after the, yes, then it was then I know who brought the money. Now again, some people say, look, Nigeria is being impoverished so that people can get hold on power. It may not be so, but you can see something like it. Because when people are poor, putting money on the table is like putting corn for chicken. I know you have asked me this question before. I know I was not able to satisfy you with the answer. And I know today I will not even be able to satisfy you any more than I've satisfied you. But it is a problem. Another thing was that in some societies, certain societies, they will tell you, for instance, in Britain, you are either a product of a public school, which is private school in their own case, public school, or certain institutions. In Paris, in France, you must have been a product of the School of Administration, something like that. I think they have. So now, have we got something like that? No. Should we go for something like that? Maybe. Now, the values you were talking of, you went to UK in 1978. In 1966, I lived with my cousin in 31 Itire Road, Surulere. I put my car out. I left the key of my Peugeot 404 in the car and I slept in the house. The following morning, the car was there. 1966. Can you do that today? Now, so what have we lost and how have we lost it? We have lost sense of value. We have lost morality. We have lost principle. How can we bring it back? Can the school help? I don't know. Can the church help? You can answer better.
If we collect more tithes, we will help.
Now, this
the
is
church
true.
will help. We have to find a process.
This is true. But look, when I was in the prison, I wanted to find out, and I think I wrote it in when I interviewed Babali, what has gone wrong. And I said, look, juvenile delinquency and criminality, who is to blame? That was, I did it as a research in prison. Juvenile delinquency and criminality, who is to blame? I found out that everybody is to blame. The child, the family, the church, including the mosque, the state, the local government, the state, the national, and even the international, what is put out. So, if we want to try and get this, and people tell you, look, yes, we know he's bad, but we can get money from him. And the one who is good hasn't got money. And most of the people that you will really need as good leaders, whether at the local, state, or national level, they don't want to go out into politics. So those who go into politics, they have ulterior motive, most of them. I know this for sure. In the north, particularly in the past, and in my own part, if you are angling to become an Oba, they won't take you. In my own lifetime, they have gone out. Bola Sheknu Ajibola, you know of him. His father was an Oba. The father was a retired police officer. He was in the village. And they just went to him and said, look, you are. He said, no, I'm not, I don't want it. He said, yes, you are the one. In the north, they believe that God does not give you money and position together. That used to be their belief, that money and position, God doesn't give it together. That if God gives you money, that's what he wants to give you. Go and do whatever you want to do with your money. If God gives you position, that's what he wants to give you. He wants you to be a fair, just, and good leader. Now, what do? We either get money to buy position, or you get position to buy money. So how do we stop that? You are a pastor, tell me.
Come on, let's give Baba a round of applause. But Baba, you said it in a way. We have to have a process of going to look for these people who may not have money, but who are good people. And we bring them to the fore, and we begin to support them. The way they used to choose Obas in the past. They went to look for them. They went to look for people.
Hello?
They went to look for people who they felt were competent to do this work. So we must begin a process, Baba, which I want you to please try and champion and lead for us, where we go looking for the people. and we encourage them, we support them, we pray for them, we look for others who have money to back them up and make sure that they're available to lead. That's how you became president, because you didn't want to be president. You were fresh out of where they had put you. No, you didn't want to be president.
And I didn't have the money.
And you didn't have the money. But we came, and you've been one of the best presidents that we've ever had.
I don't know about that, but really,
well,
that's how I became president.
Yes.
I came out of prison.
Exactly. Sir.
And my family and all that, that's what I wanted to be. And people came.
Yeah.
And I said, leave me alone. And then when I have told this story, I've written about it, when the pressure was mounting, I went to Mandela and Desmond Tutu. I said to Mandela, Mandela said, look, Olu, listen to your own instinct. I said, thank you very much, Madiba. Then I went to Desmond Tutu. Desmond Tutu listened to me. I said, you mean you have served your people enough, which God wanted you to do, and you are tired of serving? I said, no, Desmond, that's not what I said. I said again. Then at the end he said, if your people want you to serve, go and serve them. God will be with you. So I came out. Then when I was going to make up my mind, I went to a friend who you know. I said, look, I'm under this pressure. How will you help me raise money? And he raised the money. That time, he raised equivalent of $7 million for all the 6 elections: local government, state assembly, governorship assembly, House of Representatives, Senate, and presidency. $7 million in 1999.
We have to do the same again, sir. We have to go and look for another person like that, and we will raise $20 million for him, or $1 billion. Sir, don't go. Come on, let's give him. Come on, let's give a very round of applause. A very, very warm round of applause. We are going to look for that person, and some of you are going to look for the $1 billion that will make the person president. You've raised $1 million for Caroline Moore and Where Am I Life campaign, and then we lose the balance for the presidential and the governorship election. Come on, let's give Olusegun Obasanjo another round of applause. Another round of applause. Another round of applause. Come on, let's put our hands together.
That is, sorry, if anybody had a mild heart attack, it's allowed. I think the only person that didn't have a heart attack was Baba. Sorry, Baba, can you come and do that again, just to make sure, just to make sure it wasn't a film trick. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know about you. Nigerians, Africans generally, we are a storytelling community. And the fact that everybody is still here means that there's a story that is being told that is important to you. And whether you like it or not, for as long as Baba has written over 30 books and has said everything he said, thank God for the internet, you can always go back. It is very imperative and very important to tap into the wisdom that has been shared this evening. Not because it changes things automatically tomorrow, but because it is a seed, I believe, that has been sown. And what you do with that seed is now totally up to you. But once again, please, I think we should all rise and give Baba a round of applause for sharing his time, his experience, his story with us. It takes a lot for a man to leave his comfort zone in the farm and come to this high stage, to jump off the high stage and of course back to his table. We appreciate you, sir. We thank you for the time once again. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, I know we do have a lot of questions. Please take your seats. Caroline has a final wrap-up of her presentation, which is very key. The $1 million is not necessarily one check, even though we will not reject that. No matter what you have, no matter how small what you have, it adds to the pool. So over to you, Caroline. Do you have a mic there? Okay.
So I can't say I'm short of words, but that's how I feel. I just took my two hands off my head when Baba jumped down from the stage, because I don't even know if I can do that. But with all of my heart, from the bottom of my heart, I want to say a very big thank you to Baba. Daddy, thank you so much, sir. You've made Nigerian story worth the while. You told the story. It has been Nigerian story indeed. The stories have been told, and today has been made. I am filled with joy in my heart because I know that there is still hope. And one of the questions someone asked when we put this event together is, what stories do we want to tell? That does Nigeria have a story? And I told the person, why don't you come and listen, and then you will decide or make up your mind whether Nigeria has a story or not. And I'm very sure that today we've been able to prove that there are stories that need to be told in this nation. And one of those stories have been told today that can empower and that can change the narrative. And when I came up earlier, I was talking about engaging people. I went for my interview at the back and someone asked me, which story is the most powerful story that has inspired me? And I said, I hear stories every single day that inspires me. We live for the stories, and we have the big ones and the small ones. And someone said, okay, from what we've done today, every young Nigerian is going to believe that they have to have a connection with the diaspora, or they have to travel abroad or live somewhere in the diaspora or travel somewhere before they can make it. The Nigerian story is actually to tell you that wherever you are in the world, you can make it. You can succeed. What you need to do is find out from those that are succeeding, how are they doing it? And then put those tools to work. And one of the ways that we're going to do it as the media, as Baba has asked, how do we want to do it? Is the church going to do it? But if you remember, while Baba was reading his book, he talked about the young people. He talked about the young leaders. He talked about the ideas. And he said he's counting on us. He's counting on entrepreneurship. He's counting on the works that we're going to do. And I'm sure that Baba is also counting on the Why I Am Alive campaign initiative. And we are going to make that change. And one of the ways we want to do it is by making that change in 2020. Now I want to quickly share with you what the initiative is about. The $1 million we're talking about is not to raise money to spend. It's for all of us to come together and make that difference. Now we said we're going to go to 48 secondary schools, and we're going to empower 10 students after having an encounter with them. 10 students for every school. That's 480 students will be empowered in 2020. Now we're going to be giving them scholarships based on their situation or circumstance from between 50,000 naira to 100,000 naira. That's going to cost 48 million naira. 48 million naira is not money that we cannot raise in Nigeria. For 480 young Nigerians to have hope and to have a future by keeping them in school. We're also going to be going to the market space, and we're going to empower 1,000, just 1,000 market women. Just 1,000. Now I have a strong belief that if we work on the mindsets of these individuals and empower their minds to let them know that they raise their children so that they can be the representatives that we're looking for in this nation, they are the hope. And if we don't take the step and we don't move, if we keep on giving seminars and talking about what we can do and talking and not acting, we will not get the results. To empower these 1,000 women, we need 100 million naira. It's just 100,000 for 1,000 women. Now we're also looking at the power of the media by having a TV show. Now the reason why we want this TV show is for you to be able to see how this money has been spent. For every student that is empowered, they will come on and talk about their empowerment, and we'll follow through the process. So every single activity of the initiative throughout the year 2020 will be on the show every single week. We're also looking at doing the cost of the show, the TV show. Can you help me with the media? It's going to be called the Why I Am Alive TV show. So basically what we're going to be doing is all the initiative activities, going to the schools, going to the market space, empowering their mind, paying their school fees and seeing them through school will be on the show. And we'll be bringing one after the other some of the empowered individuals to come and share their experience where they were before, bringing them from a state of hopelessness to hope. And Baba gave a statement just now, and I liked it. He said in the North, they believe that God does not give money and position at the same time. So there are people that have position, and there are some that have money. The truth is, the reason why sometimes we feel those vacuums on the inside of us, that no matter how much money we have and no matter how many cars we buy and all the countries we travel to in the world, you still wake up sometimes and you feel like you've not done anything with your life, is because you're not actually living the purpose. Now, the true successful person is that person that is able to build another success. That when you are done, you're able to say, indeed, I did live for a purpose. So putting together this event was not easy, but we made up our mind that we will do it. Whatever it costs, we will change the narrative with this platform. Thank you very much. And finally, we're talking about the film. So in 2020, we're going to be having the Why I Am Alive film. Now, each and every one of these initiatives are actually going to be a business running initiative. So when we invest the 1 million, we're going to begin to make money from all those investments and put it back in the initiative. The film is the Why I'm Alive film. I'm not going to disclose what it is because I know there are film producers in the house. So that is for those that are interested in the business. We'll talk about that. But it's going to be used to get to the mind of the young Nigerian. That you don't have to look for a way to run away from Nigeria for you to do well. The truth is this, when you look at how people succeed, it's by hard work. And if you're not ready to do the hard work in Nigeria, even when you get to the diaspora, whenever you get to the countries that you're running to, you're still going to run away from the hard work. And Dr. Badero was an example. So someone said, oh, he's done well in America, now we're honoring him. And Anthony Joshua did well, and now we're honoring him. But if we open our eyes, we have people like our Baba that has come and speak today. Chief Olusegun Obasanjo himself is a Nigerian, and he is successful, and he did it in Nigeria. And there are thousands of them all over the place. There are a lot of successful people seated in this room today that are doing well in Nigeria. In fact, we now see that our Nigerians in the diaspora, some of them are coming home to come and take the opportunities. I can give examples, but let me just leave them because of the media. Now, this film is going to cost us 40 million naira for production, 10 million naira for distribution, but it has the ability to raise 300 million naira because the entertainment industry is moving to the next level. I would have loved to break it down, but to see a movie in the cinemas is 3,000 naira. And at the premiere of most of the movies that we see that are comedies and that cannot change the mindset of anyone or cannot inspire any change or change the narrative, they do 530 million naira in 1 month. Because more than 1 million Nigerians will go out with their 3,000 naira to go and see these films. We're going to be doing a film in 2020 that will cost 50 million naira. That's the investment. And it has the ability to raise a minimum of 300 million naira, which will also be put back into the initiative from time to time, year after year. So we can say we're looking for $1 million now. But by 2021, after that $1 million, the initiative will have its capacity to run itself because we'll be running businesses that have the ability to run this initiative. And I am 100% sure that if people come on this ride with me, in a short time from now, we will change the narrative of Nigeria because we'll empower these young, able, and powerful minds as much as changing their mindset and changing the story. With all what I've said, I'm sure that there are people in the house that will want to come on this journey with me. So if you're interested, just let me know. I'll let you know how we can work together. Everything is transparent. Obviously, you've seen that the chairman of the advisory board is Pastor Itua Igodalo. So it's not just me. I have great fathers backing me up that we're going to work on this process together. It's powerful. It's big. I believe in it. We can achieve it. Whether you're in this room or not, we will get this job done. With that being said, I want to say a great thank you to everyone that has come here tonight. If you look at it, we called it the Nigerian Story Celebration. So there's going to be food, drink, cocktail, network, music, have fun, dance. And I want us to go with that mindset that if God has given you money, if God has given you food on your table, if God has given you position, whatever it is that God has given to you, use it and make up your mind that you will be part of changing the narrative of this nation
and beyond. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, round of applause to Caroline Moore. Thank you so much for that inspiring speech. Ladies, come. Okay, I think you need to jump off stage.
No way.
Maybe that's what people are looking forward to. Please, let's give her a round of applause. It takes pure dedication and undiluted love to focus on a project of this magnitude without any visible support. Going on, just all you're going on is the will to make a change, and we thank you very much for that. Please, a round of applause as well to the Why I'm Alive campaign team, wherever they are. Please, let's show them some love. Thank you once again, Baba, for the time spent. Of course, Doctor has gone, and of course, the guests, gentlemen of the press, thank you so much for taking the time. I'm happy to say that I think the number of people that started this event are those that remained, which is a testimony to the fact that we're heading in the right direction. I read somewhere that it's better to crawl in the right direction than run in the wrong one. So we might be crawling, but I'm sure we'll get there sooner than later. Once again, well done to you, Caroline. More round of applause to her.
Thank you.
I am Gbemeleke Oscar Onyusa, and of course it's been an honor and a privilege to be your master of ceremony this evening. Thank you once again for the time, and feel free to network. I'm sure there's still a lot of questions that people have to ask, so feel free to network, exchange cards. Don't forget the overall reason and the aim why we're here, and feel free to tweet about this. Hashtag, of course, is the Nigerian story, and of course, please tell a friend to tell a friend. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful evening. Compliments of the season, and by God's grace, see you in the new year. Good night, and God bless.